Good evening, everyone. Thank you for turning out in this dreadful weather to the Human Resources and Council Tax Committee meeting on Tuesday the 21st of October. Right, item 1 is apologies for absence and substitutions. Was I meant to do that first?
Thank you, Chair. I have received apologies on behalf of Councillor Baker, with Councillor Doyle substituting, and Councillor Ketika with no substitutions.
Thank you. Before we go on to item 2, I've just got a statement to read. When I put my glasses on. Thank you, Gary. At our meeting on the 28th of July 2025, this committee received a detailed update from the Council's work-based learning manager on the Career Track programme. The committee recognised the scheme's long-standing contribution to supporting young people and adults into meaningful employment through high-quality apprenticeships, particularly within the public sector. We acknowledge the programme's role in delivering nationally recognised qualifications, developing local talent, strengthening workforce capacity, and fostering community engagement. In light of this, the committee endorsed a proposal to write to the leader of the council and the chief executive requesting their advocacy for the continuation of Career Track within the structure of the new unitary authority following local government reorganisation. I am pleased to confirm that both the leader of the council and the chief executive have expressed their full support for the committee's positions. They recognise the strategic importance of the Career Track programme in shaping the future public sector workforce and in addressing the demographic challenges specific to the tendering area. Both have committed to advocating of this constitution and future development of Career Track as part of the ongoing discussions surrounding local government reorganisation. This endorsement will be formally raised by Ian Davison at the forthcoming meeting of the North East Essex Shadow Board, which includes leaders and chief executives from Braintree and Colchester. On behalf of the committee, I would like to thank them both for their endorsements and continued dedication to supporting opportunities for our young people and communities. In addition to the Career Track update, the committee also received a broader report from officers on the council's workforce development strategy. Members welcome the positive progress being made in the use of higher level apprenticeships, particularly those funded through the apprenticeship levy. Officers reported a growing number of sign-ups to advanced and degree level apprenticeship pathways, which we are helping to build specialist skills and leadership capacity across the organisation. This was recognised by the committee as a strategic and forward-looking investment in the council's workforce, ensuring we are well positioned to meet future service demands and organisational challenges, especially in the context of the local government reorganisation. Thank you. Item 2, minutes of the last meeting. To confirm and sign as a correct record the minutes of the last meeting of the committee held on Monday the 28th of July. Can I have a proposer, please?
So moved.
And a seconder? And those that were here, do you all agree? Yeah? Great. Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Councillors are invited to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests or non-registrable interests, and the nature of it in relation to any item on the agenda. None? Thank you. Item 4, questions on notice pursuant to Council Procedure Rule 38.
Thank you, Chair. There are no questions.
Thank you. Item 5, career track verbal update. And I'm going to go to Debbie Ann. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we are at the moment with regards to the Career Track Apprenticeship Programme. Just as a reminder, Career Track offer apprenticeships in customer service, business administration, team leader and public service operational delivery officer. We currently have 50 apprentices on the programme at the moment. We have 5 that have just started and 2 that are waiting for a start date. At tendering, we have 25 apprentices. 16 of those are level 2 apprentices, typically 16 to 21 in age. They're undertaking the level 2 customer service apprenticeship. And we have 4 public service operational delivery officer apprentices in TDC. That's a level 3 apprenticeship, and that is public sector. We are working currently with Colchester City Council, Braintree District Council, Malden, Suffolk and Kent. We are also working with London boroughs, so we've just started a 5 programme cohort with Hounslow, London Borough of Hounslow, and that is working in a couple of the directorates there at the council. 5 started in September of this year and a further 5 to start in September of next year. And we've just signed up an apprentice at Medway, which is part of our contract with Kent County Council. We have recently advertised a vacancy at Harwich Town Council, and we've just sorted out the interview date for that, so we're hoping the apprentice at Harwich will start in the new year. We have 1 in 5 staff at TDC who were or have been a career track apprentice, so that's 1 in 5 staff at the moment. And our current success rate is 92% for the 24-25 year, and that's up by 3% from the 23-24 year. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you very much. Item 6, report of the Assistant Director, People, A1 Workforce Update. It does say pages 17 to 26. I need to correct them. It's pages 15 to 26 with the recommendations on page 16. So I'm going to go over to Marcia.
Thank you, Chair. The previous workforce profile report was presented to this committee in February. Therefore, in most areas, the data I've reported on is between the period between February and September. Any new reporting areas will be data captured over the past year, and I'd like to take you through some of the key points within this report. The Council's current total workforce is 763 staff, which equates to a full-time equivalent of 499.3 employees. Of those, 401 are full-time posts and 151 are part-time posts. This figure also includes 25 apprentices and 186 casual workers. The age range of our employees is between 16 and 86 years of age, with our largest age group being between 51 and 60. Since the last reporting period in February, the Council has advertised 93 vacancies and received and processed 724 applications via the Council's website and intranet. Of those vacancies, 66 appointments were made, including 20 permanent appointments, 7 temporary appointments, 7 apprentices and 32 casuals. We have successfully recruited to some of the harder to fill vacancies, including planning officers, environmental health officers, solicitors and project managers. Some of the success of these appointments can be accredited to the promotion of Level 7 apprenticeships within these areas of work. The committee will recall that the government levy funding for Level 7 apprenticeships is due to cease in January for any individuals over the age of 22. This strategic use of the funding has enabled the Council to attract and develop high calibre professionals into these critical areas by offering the opportunity to undertake the Level 7 course as part of that recruitment process. Of our contracted workforce, 9 employees have declared they have a disability. The current ethnic minority representation within our workforce is 1.3% compared to the tendering representation of 3.8%. The committee should be aware that it's at the employee's discretion whether they choose to disclose their ethnicity or not, and our system reports show that 459 employees have not disclosed their ethnicity, and so steps are being taken to encourage our staff to complete the personal section on the iTrent system which reports this data. We currently have a positive gender balance amongst our workforce, with 49.3% of our full-time staff being male and 50.7% being female. There is a strong female representation amongst our senior managers, with 44.9% being female managers and 55.1% being male. The Council's gender pay gap continues to align with the UK's average. The Council's current sickness absence is recorded as 2.84 days absence per employee, which is below the previous reported absence in February of 3.65 days per employee and well below the national average of 9.4 days. While this time frame does not yet include the winter months, when seasonal illnesses such as colds and flu typically contribute to increased absence, it is encouraging to note a reduction in overall sickness absence amongst the workforce. This positive trend is likely supported by the comprehensive health and wellbeing measures in place for our employees, and these include access to a full funded employee assistance programme, enhanced flexible working arrangements, corporate gym membership, annual flu vaccinations, and referrals to an occupational health specialist. The organisation remains committed to fostering a healthy and supportive working environment for all our staff. In summary, our workforce remains stable and resilient, with positive recruitment and retention trends despite national challenges. Diversity and inclusion continues to be a priority, and sickness absence levels are well below the national average. These insights position us well for the upcoming local government reorganisation and reinforce our commitment to being an employer of choice. The recommendations for this report can be found on page 16 of your agenda, and it is recommended to the Human Resources and Council Tax Committee that the content of this workforce update report be noted. I would welcome any questions, Chair.
Thank you. Before I just go to questions, Katie, you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Marcia. I just wanted to highlight that in members' report pack, there is a reference number of 23 apprentices, and obviously that was correct at the time of writing. And obviously Debbie Ann has mentioned 25 apprentices today. So I just wanted to clarify where there was those different numbers. Thank you, Chair.
And in the report it says 459 staff didn't want to disclose their ethnicity. What are we going to do to address that, rather than surmising why they don't want to disclose that? Because I could ask that question, I could say, have you got any idea? But actually we need to know the reason behind that decision.
I think part of it is around our process. So when an applicant applies for a job, they're asked the question around their ethnicity and their disability, but that part is separated from the shortlisting process. So that's not included. So that's obviously part of our inclusivity. But when they join us, it's then at their discretion whether they want to disclose that. So on our iTrent system, which is our HR system, that's the portal that our employees can go on to manage their employment while they're with us. And there's a personal detail page, and that's where they have to go into to update their ethnicity and their disability status. But what they tend to do is use it to apply for annual leave or to put a change of address or to access their wage slip. And I think what they're not doing is once they start their job, they're not going back in and populating that area. So during our induction process, one of the things we're doing now is going through that form with them and showing them where that personal details page is on iTrent and encouraging them to try and make sure they populate that. because they do have the option to say, I don't want to declare, and that's absolutely fine. But at the moment, they're just not answering that question at all. So we think it's being missed as opposed to not wanting to declare it. So we're going to change the way in which we use that process so that we try and capture as much of that data and obviously create a culture where people feel comfortable to disclose so that they know that that information that's being disclosed is going to be used in a positive way as part of their employment.
Thank you. I just think that would be a really interesting piece of work if people can respond maybe to a survey anonymously, because I think there is an undercurrent and different reasons why people don't like to disclose that information.
Carlo? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, Madam Chairman. And apologies for a slight delay. I think the HR committee and the A12 don't get on very well with me. Plus the roadworks in Clacton as well. That's over 2.5 miles detour. But no, thanks so much. Then more observation, because I did have quite a lot of questions, which Marcia and Katie already answered for me. It's really good to see that the gender in middle management are still keeping up to, and as I think I said before, when I started in this authority in 2007, you walked in a room with middle management, you couldn't see a female in there. So it's really, really great that, it's maintaining that, and it's really nice to see that. Just would like to comment on the recruitment of planning officers, solicitors and environmental health officers, which it's always been historically a very, very weak area of this council, and it's cost us an awful lot of money by getting temps and agency staff in that. So that is an absolute stroke of genius the way you've actually done it. So big well done to your initiative. I think you more than justified your recruitment there, Mash, I think, the absentees, again, it's a third against the national average. And that was a question that I put to you, why that is. And, it's all the various, it's not just one silver bullet, it's a whole host of things. And again, 2007, when we joined this authority, I think Gary and I was the only one, the absenteeism was over 10-15%, so we were spiraling out of control. There were so many people that were not coming to work, stress, illness, and that's a massive improvement. So just like to put on record, how gratifying that is, all the work that you guys have done. The disability and the armed forces, again, you've given me quite a big explanation on that. The one question that you've alluded to LGR in there, how do we fare with our neighbours, Braintree and Colchester? What are the figures like compared to ours? And if they're very different, what are you doing to make sure that they're all on the same even keel?
We're still learning what Braintree and Colchester are doing and how they're managing their workforce in comparison to our procedures. So I have just joined a working group, and our first meeting is on the 28th of November with Colchester, Braintree and Epping Forest, so that we can start looking at our policies and procedures and looking at whether we can think about making some alignments between our procedures. So when we bring a policy to this committee and we update that policy, we're offering to share that policy with those councils so we can look at how that aligns with their working practices, in the hope that when we get to LGR and we start thinking about aligning our documents, we've already done a lot of the work in advance and try and look at how we can embrace the working practices between our staff so that it's not such a huge adjustment for that alignment.
Thank you. That's very sensible way forward. And the difference with us and other authorities in Essex is we know what our fate's going to be, whether it's going to be Braintree and Colchester or someone else attached to that, so that it won't be a waste of time, all the efforts that you're doing that, because obviously for the rest of the county it's different, so they don't know where they're going, who they're going to go with and things like that. The one other comment which I had was the disciplinary procedure, which has finally been agreed. Again, I think that was one of my questions to you. Again, that shows that your relationship with the unions, because it's quite a sensitive subject, let's say, and I'm just delighted that is now put in place. I've got other questions, but again, much praise to you ladies to have got us in the state that we are. Thank you.
Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, but I just want to say the council does an outstanding. These stats are absolutely superb, especially your sick absence. It's unbelievably low. In Career Track, clearly people want to come and work for the council, which is fantastic. But also I'd say that us councillors love working with the offices, and anything I've done with the council has been outstanding. So thanks very much for that. Just really, really good to hear everything from you all, and also for the councillors to say thank you to you too, because it would be nice to put it that we also are very happy to work with you. And there doesn't seem like there's a divide between them and you and us. We all feel like we work together as a team, which was great as well. So thanks very much.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If I could just place my own endorsement on what both Carlo and Gemma have said, because there's no getting away from it. The transformation of the ethos and the culture over those years has been truly remarkable. Everybody has bought in, but there's no getting away from it. All those working in HR, you really are the engine room of delivering that. And what has been achieved is truly remarkable. It's a credit to everybody involved.
Totally agree.
Thank you, councillors.
Okay.
Another question about the Borough of Hounslow. That was quite news to me as well. Is that done in conjunction with Debbie Ann, the apprenticeship? I think that's really good news. Maybe you could give us a bit more information on that.
Yes, of course. You're asking about the Hounslow project, the EDI project. So that's something that Career Track have done independently. We've had an apprentice at Hounslow for the last year or so. The first public service apprenticeship that they've ever had. So he was our trial and our opportunity to do the best we can. And they've chosen us as a provider to deliver the 10 young person project. 5 people starting this year and 5 next year, trying to bring people representing the community of Hounslow into the organisation, and encouraging young people to sort of want to work in that borough, just the same way as we do with Career Track, but obviously they don't have the training provision internally. So they've welcomed us back, and they started 2 weeks ago. And each individual has unique characteristics which complement the community, if that's the appropriate way to say. And they're just a great bunch of young people. I've worked with there's 2 boys and 3 girls, and I've worked with the 2 boys, and Louise has been working with the 3, and it's a wonderful project. And they're repeating it again in September next year.
And that's another feather in the cap, isn't it? And I think it will be, we skipped through the minutes and I was just about settling in. I was delighted that I'd never thought anything different, that the leader and the chief executive both agreed that Career Track should be something that we should safeguard going forward. And is that 7 other authorities that we provide apprenticeship for now? 7 or 8, more or less, yeah. And again, it's not something that is replicated anywhere else. It's a scheme that's very unique to tendering, isn't it? It doesn't exist anywhere else, does it?
There are no other training providers set up in the way Career Track are in Essex. There are other authorities, most of in the country. Most of them are local, so they're called adult community learning. So that's where the apprenticeship provision sits within the county. So a county will have apprenticeship provision, and it is delivered through adult community learning, which it is in Essex. But we are unique in that we are a district council with their own approved training provider. not unique in the country, but definitely unique in Essex.
Closing, Madam Chairman, I think because it was a request that came up at the last meeting to write to the Chief Executive and to the leader, I think it'd be good if we formally thank them for their extremely positive reaction on that. And we look forward to see Career Track prosper. As a letter there you go. Yeah. Sorry, I stole your thunder, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to take the opportunity to respond to councillors' feedback and say thank you, because as officers we're very lucky in terms of the working relationships that we have with you as councillors, and particularly we're very lucky because we are in, especially in terms of Colchester and Braintree, we as an authority are the only ones that are lucky enough to have a HR committee. And actually, you know, I'm a real advocate for our working relationship with the committee and the value that it brings in terms of our staff's experience, you know, as us, you know, in terms of their employment. And also just, as I say, we are very lucky to have your contributions, and it works really well. So thank you. It definitely goes both ways.
Okay. Item 7 is report of the Assistant Director People, A2 Recruitment and Selection Policy and Procedure. It's pages 25 to 50. The policy is on page 33 to 47 and the recommendations are on page 26, and it's back to Marcia. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The updated recruitment selection policy sets out a clear, fair and transparent process for how we recruit at the Council. It reflects our ambition to be an employer of choice and ensures that every candidate, both internally and externally to the Council, has a positive experience with appointments made solely on merit. The revised policy outlines key improvements to the recruitment process, including the integration of our iTrent HR and payroll system to streamline recruitment and onboarding. This modernised approach improves automation, accuracy and the candidate's overall experience. Utilising the iTrent system in our recruitment process allows the analysis of recruitment data to support continuous improvement and workforce planning. There is also the introduction of a mandatory pre-recruitment pro forma to strengthen governance and clarify responsibilities before the recruitment cycle begins. This supports a structured approach to monitoring recruitment performance data, including time to hire and diversity metrics, so we can continuously improve and ensure best value for money. The updated policy sets out clear guidance on advertising, shortlisting, interviewing and pre-employment checks, ensuring compliance with legislation such as the Equality Act 2010 and data protection requirements. The Council's accreditation as a disability confident leader reflects our continued efforts to champion disability inclusion, remove barriers to employment and promote equal opportunities for all. This includes ensuring job adverts and application processes are accessible and welcoming to disabled applicants and offering interviews to disabled candidates who meet the minimum requirement for a role. In addition, the Council currently holds the Gold Award under the Ministry of Defence Employers Recognition Scheme. This recognition means the Council actively supports the employment of reservists, veterans, cadet leaders and military families and promotes itself as a forces-friendly employer. In summary, the revised recruitment and selection policy and procedure supports our strategic workforce planning, reduces legal and reputational risk and helps us to continue to attract and retain the best possible talent. The recommendation for this report can be found on page 26 of your agenda, and it is recommended that the Human Resources and Council Tax Committee notes the updates to the Council's recruitment and selection policy and procedure and acknowledges the existing delegation to the Assistant Director People in consultation with the Head of Paid Service to make any necessary amendments to this policy and associated people policies and procedures, including those required to ensure compliance with employment legislation and to reflect best practice. I would welcome any questions, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. What's the average timeline from advertising a position to actually first day at work or recruiting somebody? Because do you lose people sometimes in that length of time, perhaps, especially really important roles that you need?
Part of the new process is to introduce a recruitment tracker system. So an agreement that will come into place with the managers with using that pro forma is that the managers have to provide all their recruitment information before we start the process. And then we now operate a system in HR called our recruitment tracker, which all the staff can access and update. And it starts right from the beginning of the timeline. So when we start the recruitment process, we can provide the managers now with a timeline from going out to advert, to closing, to shortlisting, to inviting candidates into interview and to appointment, including pre-employment checks. So we can actually provide a dated timeline now to all our managers so they know from beginning to end exactly how long that recruitment process is going to take. Our target is 60 days from beginning to end, but that depends on gaining references, which tends to be one of our sticking points because we're relying on other people coming back to us. And we can continue to chase, but it's really dependent on someone else responding to us. And then, of course, we can't control the notice period someone has to give. But we have an agreed target as a team. We measure those targets and we review them at every one of our team meetings that we hold on a weekly basis.
Can I just come in on Councillor Stevenson's question? Can candidates access this time frame, or are they given a guideline on how long it's going to be?
So when we go out to advert, candidates are told of obviously the closing date and the interview date. And so they will be notified before the interview date whether they've been successful to come through for interview. When we interview them, we always make sure that the references that they've given us are still current and we can access them. And we always just double check the contact details for those. And also, if they're a preferred candidate, so they would get a provisional offer, we encourage them to contact their referees to encourage them to respond to us. Because if they put someone's name down and not told them, that person may disregard an email or not be looking for it, because that obviously speeds the process up for us to get somebody into post as quickly as possible. And we're trying to provide the best possible service to our managers. So the quicker they can get somebody into post, the better. But we need to make sure, especially if there's a DBS check involved, we've gone through all those thorough DBS and pre-employment checks first.
Thank you, Marcy. And I was going to mention vetting, as Marcia just has, and sometimes that's, you know, somewhat out of our control in terms of timescales. The recruitment process is also just one part of the process, because obviously once we've made an offer of employment to somebody, they've accepted, and we are going through that process of obtaining their references and perhaps vetting. Once that's concluded, then of course we have to involve other services such as IT to ensure that they are set up on our systems, they have the access to our network that they need, and obviously we work very closely with IT to make sure that that happens, you know, as quickly as possible. But the first part is kind of, you know, a HR process, and then it's very much working with others to get them in as quickly as we can.
Thank you. Yeah, again, not many questions. I've got one question, but just an observation that I welcome the fact that the scope of the policy has been expanded to include apprenticeship, which it's very much part of our recruitment process. How will you measure success on the changes you made on this? Is there any matrix that you can monitor it, see if, you know, how much better than the previous one was? No, the previous one wasn't any good, but that's obviously just really a curiosity on that.
I think our success is measured on the applicants that we receive and how happy our managers are with the service that we provide as an HR team. I've set quite strong standards for the team. I like them to, you know, I want them to perform really well and provide an excellent service. And so that's why we're meeting on a weekly basis and we're measuring that recruitment process to make sure that we're not allowing any slippage. And if there is any slippage, we're picking up what that is and addressing it very quickly. I think we've this new policy has got us a really good slick process now. And I think we're really pleased with how that should be moving us forward in our recruitment. And I think particularly as we're heading into LGR, we want to make sure we've really got a good team working with us as we go through that process. We want to be the employer choice. We want to attract the best possible people. And so that regular monitoring every week will make sure that we're keeping up our standard of delivery on recruitment and our responses to adverts as well. We're monitoring that as well to make sure that we're not missing any opportunities in our recruitment process. So I think the team now we have this system in place and we've got our recruitment tracker set up and our pro forma, we've got a really good tight system of monitoring so we can keep a regular eye on how that's developing over time.
And did you have any feedback from managers before you did the final version of the new policy?
The managers that I've spoken to through the development of the policy are really excited about being given that timeline at the beginning because it helps them manage their vacancy. They know how much resource time absence they're going to have. So if we say, look, we're going to start the process here and we're expecting it to end here, they can manage covering that vacancy for that period of time and manage their workforce accordingly. So they quite like having that preempted timeline of delivery, and they know what we'll get, which stage they need to be involved in, and we can make sure that they're providing us with interview questions, for example. And we've talked about how we can support managers providing that, so that doesn't hold up processes. So we're working with our managers to see how we can improve the service that we're delivering to them as well.
Yeah. No, just to say that it was a bit of a leading question, and I thought that what the answer was going to be, but thank you for confirming that. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair, and again, thank you to Marcia. And I just wanted to highlight to the committee that we work very closely with managers because obviously they are leading teams, and it's really important that they understand our people, processes and procedures. So Marcia and the team and Joe, previous to Marcia, have delivered a number of HR briefings, and they cover, our key policies and procedures in terms of our HR processes. And this recruitment is just one of those. Obviously, absence management, performance management, there are other key policies. But we've taken feedback from managers at those briefings to make sure that we've, listened to their feedback and captured it in terms of our revised policy and procedures.
I've got to admit, the few managers that I may have come across were much happier about being asked, because I don't think they've ever really been that involved in the recruitment side that applies to their teams. So the few that have come forward or I've spoken to just casually have said they've never been asked about what question do you want us to ask, or and what's the procedure, and they would just basically said, oh, this person's joining your team. And it just, yes, exactly wrong. But it's nice to, that it's nice to hear that the managers and the other departments are much happier with the process that's going on. So, well done. Are there any other questions? Seconder, Pam? And everybody agree? Sorry, my mic. Okay. I think that's it. That's it. Is that a record? Thank you very much, anyway.
It's not for Carla.